MKR, how does video come in YouTube?
Whatever we are showing in Teams, it will come into YouTube.
Okay. All right, guys. Just give me 2 minutes. We are parallelly streaming this in the YouTube as well. So. Yeah, it's coming all right. Can you just confirm the fact that you're able to hear me by just commenting yes? All right, very good evening and welcome to the session. Uh, the reason I am having this session is because there are a lot of changes which have been happening both at the admission end as well as the visa end. And I wanted to update you people of the same. Now, this is not just happening in the US, it is happening across the globe. And the reason I'm doing this is because there are certain things which you probably would have to keep ready much earlier rather than just before the visa interview. Now, you need to understand that when you are planning for higher education abroad, the biggest challenge is not the admission challenge. The reason I say that is because there are quite a few good colleges across the countries around the world. But the biggest challenge is the visa challenge. Visa is becoming tighter across various countries. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking first 10 minutes to explain as to what is happening around. And the reason you need to know of it is because it's going to impact both your life as well as the strategy that you might have to follow for the whole process. Now, I know of the fact that a few of you have already applied, which is good. A few of you already have started receiving results too. But remember, at the end of the day, till the immigration process is completed, that is, you have entered the country, may that be the US, may that be Australia, nothing can be taken for granted. Now, let me talk about what is happening across the field. Today, I hear about the fact that market is in recession, things are not going well. Frankly, that is a bullshit. The point that you need to understand is even Indian stock market is actually doing quite well. So the bottom line is that if anyone is going to talk about recession as the reason for the job market to be, bad, that's not really true. The reality is that economy is doing well, and I'm not just talking about Indian economy, I'm also talking about the US economy. If you, for example, if you were to look at the US economy and look at the unemployment rate is actually quite low there. So far, the Federal Bank of the US was continuously increasing the interest rate to keep inflation in check. However, now it has decided not to do so because it believes that inflation is already in check. Let's not forget, yesterday even RBI decided not to increase the interest rate in India because its words that inflation in India is now under control. So this is not a problem of recession. Then why are we talking so much about unemployment? Let's look at India. If you were to look at India, what do we know? We know for a fact that many students who passed out in 2023 and got multiple job offers finally have not been able to get a date of joining. It is already 6 months since they probably passed out. 2024 placements has been quite muted. A few companies have started coming. Accenture has been a relief to quite a few college managements as well as to the students. But let's not forget quite a few students who have been given a job offer by the same company, Accenture, in 2023 have still not been absorbed. Infosys has already determined the fact that it's not going to be visiting the campuses for the next 2 years. TCS has delayed So bottom line is jobs market is quite dry. Now, the point that you need to understand is this is not actually driven by inflation. Even in the US, I'm sure you are in touch with many of your seniors and your friends who are there. They talk about toughness of getting jobs. Now, this is true in Canada, this is true in Australia, this is true in Germany, it is true everywhere. But the reasoning is very different. One very important development that you need to understand is during the COVID time, many companies recruited in big numbers because they at least thought that the demand would be substantial. They also thought that COVID has changed the behavior. For example, students who till then were not ready to learn online started learning online. Now, the problem that happened is these companies thought that this change of behavior will continue even after COVID, which has not happened. So companies like Byju's, which were actually minting money during the COVID, frankly discovered to their dismay that that behavioral change is not something that is accepted when situations have become normal again. So most of these big companies which had recruited in big numbers, anticipating the increased demand, and also because of the hoped change of behavior of the customers, started firing people because they recruited them in not just in big numbers, but also at higher salaries. And then something big happened exactly 1 year before Chat GPT happened. Therefore, what has happened now is that companies are at a crossroads where they are not able to actually understand what the future is going to be. Everyone is able to actually look at the impact of artificial intelligence. Notice the fact that quite a few jobs for which they were recruiting people, paying shitload of money, can be done faster, more accurately by computers through the process of AI. So what we are seeing here is a technological disruption. Now, this technological disruption is happening across the board, and India is not immune to it. Let's not forget Indian companies like TCS, Wipros, which are the mass recruiting companies, have traditionally, historically dependent on international market. So the bottom line is, and I think this is something that we all have to embrace, that this disruption is as strong as the COVID disruption when it comes to the job market, except that the job market during COVID was a very positive swing to the people who were in the technology. Now we are seeing a negative swing in the technology. This is not something that is going to be set right. This is going to continue, and the impact of that is going to be felt across the board. For example, what is going to happen is simply this. The batch of 2024 is going to discover the fact that the market is no more looking at people with skills which are low at salaries which are low. So all the things that happened whereby companies like Infosys, Wipros, Accenture, all these companies would come recruit students at 4 lakh. That market, I believe we need to understand and accept the fact that it's not going to be as deep as what it was earlier. In effect, what is going to happen is the low-end jobs are going to be at risk. And that is something that we need to not just recognize, but be prepared for. Therefore, the job market is going to be tough, both in India and in the rest of the countries outside. If you were to speak to people who are in the US, you speak to people in other countries too, across the board, you will realize the fact that the job market is stringent, it's tough. But one of the things I hear many people tell me is that, look, job market in US is very, very bad. Can we look at other countries? And for me, that is a very short-sighted, stupid comment. Why do I say that? I quote two examples for that. First thing I want to quote is the rule. Know the fact that there's a rule in the US which says that after you finish your master's, if you do not get a job within 60 days, you will be deported. In effect, it means that you would be forced to leave the US. Now, I want to challenge you people. Can you please tell me 10 to 15 students, or even take a bit of time to come out with a list of 10 to 15 students who have gone to the US? I bet in 15 minutes you'll be able to list them down. Now, I'm going to change the question. Can you please tell me at least 5 names of students who have ended up coming back from the US? The reality is the number of people who have actually come back is a minuscule number. What does that mean? It means they are still in the US. But remember, the law allows them to be US only when they have the job, which obviously means they have the job. The point that you need to understand is when we say that the getting a job is tough, it is getting a job which is a good job. Now, understand in the US, we have a good job. We have a job which is known as a consultant's job. Now, jobs through consultancies are, in my view, not fantastic jobs, but they are nevertheless jobs which do pay you $70,000 to $80,000, an amount that is quite sufficient for people to not just save, but also to repay the amount that you probably would have taken as a loan when you're going for an education. But reality is a fact. Your quest should not be to look for a job through consultants. Your quest should be to look for a job through good companies, big companies. And this is where you should be now be aware of changes of rules which make these jobs in big companies more desirable. Now, before I go forward, let's look at the second important trend that is happening. Countries do not want immigrants. Now, this is not just limited to India not wanting immigrants. It is true for all the countries. Australia does not want it. UK does not want it. US does not want it. Now, it is not to say that it's a consensus. There are few parties in all these countries who want to support the immigrants. There are other parties who basically believe the fact that immigrants are coming and not just taking away the jobs, but they are also spoiling the local culture. Now, if you look at the trend, you will realize a lot of changes that are happening across are trying to limit the number of immigrants who a country is willing to welcome. To quote few examples, many countries across the board have started electing governments which are more right-wing. Right-wing governments are those governments which believe the fact that my country from our people. Now, this has happened in quite a few countries, including Germany, Finland. So the bottom line is quite a few countries, bottom line. The second thing that you need to understand is there are changes of rules which are happening. For example, in Australia, which is a typical of the fact that I love your money, but please don't take our money. So if you were to look at Australia, Australia is saying that please come to us for studies, give us your money, but once you have studied, please go out. Now, this was something that was tried by UK, but UK miserably failed because what UK did is that it said you can come study and then go back. In effect, it removed what is known as a postgraduate work visa. So what did we Indians do? What did we do? We basically said, you are not giving us time to work and earn, then why the shit are we going to come? We, in a way, boycotted it. So UK was forced to change the rule. But Australia has been quite clever. What Australia has done is it has reduced the number of sponsored visas that can be provided. Now, please appreciate in Australia, after you finish your graduation, getting any job does not guarantee you a step towards PR. You need to get a job which is a sponsored job. So Australia recently changed the rule whereby the number of visas or the sponsored visas that can be provided both at the national level as well as the provincial level has been cut down by 66%. That is, previously there were only 100, now there are minuscule number of 33 being offered. So the bottom line is when economy goes down, every country tightens the screw. There's a good possibility that even in US that might happen. Next year, we have elections. In fact, we are in December. Yeah, we have elections next year, which basically means that there's a chance that we might have the next president of the US as President Trump himself. Now, if President Trump were to come and become the president, it's quite likely what is going to happen is that the getting of a visa will become much more challenging. So bottom line, immigration is also going to become a challenge, which means what? Which basically means as an Indian, you are screwed. As an Indian, you don't have opportunity within India. You don't have opportunity with outside too. But that is not really the whole statement. What it means is if you are not good, then you are screwed. So bottom line is for anyone and everyone, you need to be good. For people who are good, believe me, the salaries are going to only increase higher. So companies are going to be a little more selective in giving jobs, but jobs being offered to the selective people are going to be not just good, they are going to be rewarding. And that is where masters probably is going to become a necessity till our UG education system gets enhanced to prepare people directly for the job market. So bottom line, I don't think you can actually afford to leave out on the masters. unless and until you are as skilled as probably someone who can get something like TCS digital profile. So if you are good in that area, you don't need to worry about it. But for majority of the students who are average, this challenge will continue to happen. Now, let's try to understand the second important development that's happening pertaining to the US. Before I go forward, I'm going to be requesting one more thing. Very recently, I was looking at one WhatsApp. No, it was, I think, Instagram, where I saw the fact that, students were inquiring about going to France for masters. Sweetheart, I'm going to be strongly recommending you to please subscribe to my Instagram account. I'm going to request Miss Lakshmi to please share the link of the Instagram account, both in the Teams as well as in the YouTube channel. Uh, I keep making videos so that you are up to date of what developments which are happening around. You should not just keep track of the developments in the country of your choice, but be aware of the developments across the countries, because we really don't know what is going to happen. You might be thinking about the US, probably you will get admission of good college, but tomorrow if the visa gets rejected, believe me, you will come back to me and start asking for a backup job, a backup country. So it's better for you to keep up to date on various developments. Recently, I made a video on France, and today I uploaded one on Italy, where I have actually put in actual statistics, actual news, coverages of these countries, where it clearly highlights the fact that youngsters from France and Italy are leaving France and Italy simply because they are not finding jobs there. And here are people who are trying to sell those same countries to Indians, telling the fact that education is cheap there, education has quality there. All that is true. It is cheap and it has quality. But reality is we are not going to a country for education. We are going for a job. All right. So that is something that you need to look at. Ms. Lakshmi has shared the thing. LKS, can you put the whole link? Can you just copy the link and put it across so that these guys can directly go rather than just the Instagram ID? Please be up to date on these developments, because a lot of rule changes are happening across the board and you should be aware of it. Now let's talk about US, and then I'll finally talk about the visa. US, one big change is happening in H1B visa. Now this has gone to an advanced stage and therefore you should be aware. In US, the big change that is happening in H1B visa is till recently, and even now for that matter, H1B visa was a blind lottery. For example, let us say there are two friends, A and B. A gets a job in a fantastic company, B gets a job in a consultancy firm. A is from MS in, let us say, computer science, working in a computer science company, while B is a person who is a mechanical engineer who did his master's in mechanical engineering, did not get a job in mechanical engineering. So guess what? He went to an IT consultant and took up a job in IT. Now, do remember this path is a very common path, all right? It happens even in India. So when company like TCS comes and recruits mechanical engineers, let's not forget TCS is also a consultancy firm. At least they started as a consultancy firm. They are now trying to come up, but they are still majority-wise consultancy firms. Now, previously, what would happen is MS in computer science student with good profile getting into good company in the area of computer science. B, MS in mechanical engineering student going through a consultant and entering an IT job. Now, both of them were given the same weightage when it came to the H1B visa. The new policy that is being debated, that's being discussed, and that's going to be finalized basically says that H1B visa would be given to people who show a correlation between the masters and the job. So if you are a person from computer science going to computer science, your chances of getting H1B visa is much higher than a person who is from mechanical engineering going to computer science. All right. Now, the whole idea is to see to it that they want to select people who are serious and good rather than someone coming to a sector by default. This becomes very important for you to know, because the choice of the specialization that you do would have to be therefore be very carefully taken. Because tomorrow, if you are ending up with a job which is not linked to, or is not proven to be linked to the area that you have done masters, H1B visa will be difficult. And H1B visa is very, very important for us for a simple reason. That is the pathway to the green card. There's a second development that has happened. I have mentioned that to my students in various forums, but I would like to mention it again, repeat it here again. President Biden has highlighted the demand or the need for strengthening the AI. AI has evolved as a very important skill. People and even countries have recognized the fact that AI is going to become a big differentiator. AI is also going to be a strong political tool. So bottom line, US wants to strengthen their AI skill set. So what has President Biden done? President Biden has floated an idea, and it's very good chance it would be accepted even if there's a change of regime that takes place. Republican president does come in, which basically means that if you are a person who is an expert in the field of AI, your chances of both getting H-1B visa as well as a green card will be enhanced. In effect, they are saying we need a talent in that area. So if you're able to get us that talent, then what we are going to be doing is seeing to it that the pathway to the citizenship would be made a little more easier. So this again becomes very important because at the end of the day, remember when you're going to the US, one of the greatest challenges of the US has been the pathway to the green card. There are many Indians who are there for more than a decade waiting to get the green card. And believe me, till you get the green card, you can't breathe that easily. So there's always going to be a lot of uncertainty that is going to be there. Now, these two are very, very important rules that you should be aware of. But this sounds in a positive way. But look at the negative side of the story. Negative side of the story is if you don't come in this set, you are at a disadvantage, which means if you take up a sector which does not have too many job opportunities, you specialize in the sector, and then you discover the fact that jobs are not there in that sector, and therefore you take the traditional path that people have conventionally taken, whereby if they don't find a job in mechanical engineering, they take an IT job. You are going to be at a disadvantage, which was not a scenario so far. Similarly, if you end up in a area where too many supply is already there, too many professionals are already there, then you will be at a disadvantage. So bottom line, please see to it that area that you're specializing in is in line with what countries are saying they have a demand in. Now, this is not a very unconventional route. If you look at Canada, if you look at Australia, if you look at UK, all these countries have always been having certain occupations which they've been saying are in demand. All right. So these countries have been having their own list of occupations in demand, and they have been giving preference to people in this list for the citizenship. So it's very important, whichever country you are going to go to, you should prefer those occupation jobs, fight for those jobs which are in demand, because these are the guys who will find the pathway to be much easier vis-a-vis someone else who is probably picking up an area he or she loves, but is not in demand. All right. So the bottom line is when you do go to a foreign country, you are making a lot of sacrifice. Your parents are making a lot of sacrifice, but the end game has to be the PR. All right. And hopefully after getting the PR, you will come back to India. You will contribute to the growth of India. As I keep saying, many Indians who are in the US are now coming back, but they're coming back as employees rather than employers. Now, there is one more thing that is happening in Canada and Australia, especially in Australia. What has happened is in Australia, many people from Indian background, especially the Telugu states, had resorted to documents which were not very strong. All right, fake documents, that is. Now, what Australia has done is in the whole process of after admission, when you are applying for the visa, they have made this the document confirmation very stringent. The impact is now even colleges are scrutinizing the documents. They are scrutinizing your financial documents, they are scrutinizing your academic documents, and if there's even an iota of doubt that anything is not the way it seems to be, then the admission does not go forward. Canada is seeing one more story, which is more political in nature, related to Khalistan, whereby right now the conflict happens is in a way where the visa whole process is a little slow in nature. All right. People who wanted to go in January of 23, 24 have not been able to go in big numbers simply because of this conflict. So there is a little bit of uncertainty in Canada too, but Canada too has made the documentation evaluation a little more stringent. Now, finally, let me come back to the US and let's talk about the US. US also has reached a stage where they are being a little more stricter. The reality is record number of student visas were given this year. But we also had record number of people seeking the student visas. And the reason is very simple. When Indian economy is down in terms of job opportunities, obviously students tend to look for higher education, and higher education option in India is pathetically limited because unless and until you are brilliant, you can't get into the limited number of good colleges that we have in India. So obviously majority of the people now who they can afford to pay for good education are flying abroad. And let's not forget, quite a few colleges which these students are going are much better than what they probably would have been rejected if they had applied for IITs and NITs. Okay. So the bottom line is, with so much of demand, what is happening is countries are becoming little more choosy. US, for example, has started scrutinizing. There have been cases where they have started collecting documents they traditionally were not collecting. We had cases of financial documents and academic documents, including GRE score or TOEFL scores, being documents being xeroxed by them, all right, photocopied by them, which basically means they have documents which can be scrutinized even after you have left the visa center. So what are the important caution points that you need to have? Point number one, please be very careful. You need to see to it that you are selecting the country of your choice. The countries I recommend: USA, Canada, Ireland, UK, Australia, Singapore. No Italy, no France. These countries are having a huge issues, and education is cheap. Yes, it's cheap because no one wants it. All right. So the bottom line, be very careful about this. Within each of these countries, you have pros and cons. US is fantastic for money, fantastic for jobs, very bad when it comes to the PR. Canada is fantastic for PR. The cold will kill you big time. And let's not forget, money is not there. UK has its own set of advantage. Economy is big, but negative is Brexit has happened. Ireland is fantastic for IT, for pharma, for electronics. And Ireland is probably one country which allows you to move finally both to the US as well as to European Union. Australia has become very stringent, but if you are a person interested in PR, by selecting the right set of colleges in the regional areas, your chances of getting a PR can be enhanced. So each country has its advantage and disadvantage. But overall, apart from the choosing of country, I'm going to be now asking you to be very careful with the choice of the courses. Please don't choose courses randomly. You might be in love with a course, but the question is, does it have an opportunity? I'm not saying take a course which you don't like. Look for something which you can like. All right. The third very important thing is, please be very careful with your documentation. For all the hard work that you're doing, any documentation issue can boomerang on you, impact both your admission chances and the visa rejection. And let's not forget, visa rejection is a big news now. For example, in US, once your visa is rejected, your chances of getting a refusal slot is a bloody nightmare now. That was not the case before COVID, where if your visa is rejected within after 24 hours, you could book another slot. Visa is rejected the second time after another 24 hours, you could book another slot. Now what is happening is you are not actually getting the chance to book another slot. All right. Minimum period we are talking about is about 6 months. It is going to as long as in a year or two. So that is not just the complication. Visa rejection in one country will probably impact the visa chances in the other countries, which you want to keep as a backup. So don't play with visa. And this is where one very important thing comes as far as the funding is concerned. When you go for the US visa, you need to show the fact that you have the ability to pay for both your academic as well as living. Yes, you can depend upon loans, but it helps to show the fact that you have a bit of equity as well, which is savings. But whether you want to go for loan or savings or a mixture of the two, one very important document that you need to see your sponsors have is the income tax returns. Now, this is the most important reason I wanted to have a chat with the students whom I'm helping out, because I have seen many students not have the income tax return of their sponsor, typically the parents, because parents have not been filing that. Now that will be impacting you drastically, both in terms of your ability to raise a loan as well as chances of convincing the visa people that you come from a background where funding is manageable during that critical period of your education. So please see to it that you're speaking to your sponsors and confirming the fact that they are filing income tax, and the minimum amount that is there is 5 to 6 lakhs. Now, one of the reasons why our sponsors, our parents don't file the income tax is because their income is a little lower side, or they wish to declare the income to be on the lower side so as not to pay the tax. But the bottom line is, if you are declaring an income of, let us say, 6 lakhs gross, you anyway don't need to pay the income tax. Your parents don't need to pay the income tax. But filing it with the zero tax will still allow you to then get collateral free loans, and more importantly, show the visa people that you come from a family where there's a monthly flow that comes in. So please see to it that you're speaking to your sponsors. Find out whether they're filing ITRs. If they are not filing ITRs, please see to it that you are pinging me up, you are interacting with me so that we can see what we can do. But if they are filing an ITR of anything beyond 6 lakhs, you do not have to worry about it. Funding is quite easy as long as this document is there. All right. When I say funding, I'm talking about loan side of it. But more importantly, you are improving your chances of getting the visa. Uh, the second point many students have been asking me is, what about, is it late for fall? Can I attack the next spring 25? Now, this is where you need to understand one rule. This rule is more targeted towards uh, the, the US side of it. The point that you need to understand is that in the US, just give me 1 second, sweetheart. Something had come to my mind. I'm just missing it out. All right. Okay. In the US, there's a rule which says that you need to be in the country for 9 months before you can take an internship opportunity. Now, remember, if you are going for the fall period, the 9 months ends just before the summers, which means summers can be taken as an internship. And that is a good news, because not just does it allow you to improve your paper profile to fight for the final interview, it also allows you to work for 40 hours per week full time and earn money, which can then be used probably to offset the payment for the third semester. Spring is not like that. Spring, the 9 months will get over in September. So during summers, you can't actually officially work. And even if you work officially, you can't take money. So please do prefer fall. That is one. Second, at Condura, at least we have been pushing our students to apply early. Many of my students already have jobs have got admits as well. But yes, they are waiting for better colleges too. But all this push has been for early admission. The peaking of admission will happen now. Most of the India will wake up in December, January. That is the reason if you look at colleges, deadlines are much further. For example, Arizona State University, even in MS in computer science, which has the earliest deadline, that is 15th of February. If you look at George Mason University, that is 15th of March. Many of the universities have 15th of April as a deadline. So don't get too perturbed. Be in a hurry to apply, but you get one shot at these colleges. So don't be in rush to apply and in that process, you're applying through weak profiles. Please remember the competition, especially in MS in computer science and MS in data science, has skyrocketed big time. Uh, that is a scenario even in various other IT related courses too, because everyone wants technology. All right. The reason is very simple: jobs are available there. Now you need to see to it that your application is strong enough, a good GRE, a good IELTS score, or a good SOP, or a strong LOR will help your chances not just of getting an admission, but also funding. So that also becomes very important. Having said that, be aware of the fact that there are certain ways you can accelerate the process. For example, if you're looking at MS in data science, you're open to MS in data science. There are many colleges, very good ones at that, which are not insisting on GRE. All right. Yes, GRE will probably improve your chances of getting admission, improve your chance of getting funding, but it will not hamper you on admission side. Even ASU, for example, for data science is not asking for GRE. All right. Houston, I'm talking about University of Houston, the main campus. You have a choice. So GRE is not mandatory, it's optional. So you do have choices. The second thing, how you can accelerate the whole process is many colleges are still okay with a Duolingo test. Now, the beauty of Duolingo's test is a very stupid test. It's not as tough as IELTS test. And more importantly, the results of Duolingo come quite fast, which basically means you can apply that early too. So yes, 2, 3 important points. Number one, don't be in a rush. We have deadlines. The peaking has still not happened. Peaking will happen from December 15th or December 15th to January 15th is a peak time. Then 2 students will come and apply. It will happen. All right. And this year, I do see more students applying in the month of January because quite a few fourth-year students are still hoping the fact that they will get jobs, which they will not, which will net mean that they will come to the market of application somewhere around January, February. So I see a peaking happening somewhere in towards the end of December, January, and once more somewhere around February. Deadlines will start commencing from February 15th till about March 31st. So don't rush. But yes, if you can shrink the time frame, try to shrink the time frame. But your fight cannot be in series. Please see to it that all the documents which are necessary for you to enhance your chances of getting visas are also parallelly done. And this is where the ITR and the financial documents I was talking about some time back will be useful. So let me bring everything forward. Before that, a quick request again. Lakshmi, can you please forward this link or let me forward it in YouTube as well? I have forwarded the link to the Instagram in the YouTube too. I have done that in this. Please see to it that you are keeping yourself abreast of all the developments which are happening. It's very chaotic. Things are very fluid and you need to know of various rule changes, etc. so that you are prepared for it much better. In case your visas have been rejected, in my cases, I have some students whose visas have been rejected coming down. For them, I'm not just recommending them to fight for visa again, asking them to keep a backup country too, because when you don't have jobs in India, that cannot be the backup anymore. Okay. So these elements, and I've been one of the things I've been advocating, especially to my kids at Gayatri Vidya Parishad, where I'm the Dean International Education, is the fact that fight for a job too. Fight for a job, fight for an admit, and probably in the month of May, you can look at which one is better to choose what you want to do. If you end up getting a fantastic job in the area of your interest and area of growth, then probably you can postpone your, higher education plan for a year or two. But if you don't get that, then you need to have this avenue to fly. Because if you don't plan it now, what is likely to happen by the month of April, you suddenly realize that you don't have jobs, or you do have job, but the company is not, giving the date of joining. And then you will start looking left, right, and center. Then you will probably end up applying to a college because that's the only college that's available. So it's not a choice anymore. All right. It's a desperation. That is not the right way to go forward. So these are a few things which I really wanted to discuss with all of you. I will be doing monthly sessions on this nature, where I will not just be talking about various countries. I will also see to it that I'm talking about, taking any questions that you might have. So please do see to it that you are, I will be sending you information about all this. Please be informed. All right. I was quite upset when two good students with good profiles came to me and talked about uh, France. Yeah, it was France. They actually wanted to go for France. France is good, no doubt about it, but France is good for certain areas. For example, luxury management, it's fantastic. Luxury marketing is fantastic. So you cannot just go there just because it's a developed country, right? A developed country need not necessarily mean a good country for you. And one question I have always asked is this: why would I like to go to a country where its own citizens are running away from that country? And that is a question that you need to ask yourself if you are targeting countries like France and Italy, Sweden, Norway. These are countries I'm fine with. These are good, but they're good in certain sectors. All right. But at the end of the day, do remember European countries have one drawback. The colleges are smaller, then the intake is smaller. So it's a little more challenging. But they're still good college countries to consider, but surely not France and Italy. So that's about it as far as today's session is concerned. All of you do have my WhatsApp number. So if you do have any queries that you would like to ask me, do ping me on that. But the next couple of months are going to be challenging. Please see to it that you are up to date on all the developments which are happening. Fight if you are a student sitting in a college, any company that were to come, fight for the job. In fact, fight for multiple jobs if you can. All right. Today I was speaking to a student of mine, Tagore by name. He's a Gitamite. He got a job offer from, he's actually in TCS Digital. He recently got promotion and the promotion was in the area of AI. So I told him, yeah, don't be in a rush. Let's improve the profile and then attack the fall of 25. But all that is fine if the option is fine. You cannot, one thing that we need to learn from the batch of 23 is just because you have job offer does not mean you have a job. Many companies have rescinded their offer. It's heartbreaking to especially see good students with great offers suddenly struggling desperately. Now, we need to learn from others' mistake too. So this is a very important learning for the batch of 24 too. So please be aware of that. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. As I said, I will be doing this as a regular sessions, updating you on all the developments which are happening. And your business is to be abreast of all the developments so that you can then take a decision which is right. Because as I keep saying, going abroad is not a joke. It is not a joke. It's a very big sacrifice, both from your side and your parental side. Then the question is, why do we go abroad? Yeah, the best case scenario would be where India is able to meet our expectations. All right, where the salaries are good, the life is good, the good work balance is there, rules are there. All right, it's not like I'm being stopped in the middle of the road by a sub-inspector and he slaps me and I don't have a resort. So there are multiple reasons why people go abroad and stay abroad. And I really hope that we are moving towards a direction where that might not happen, but that has still not happened. So the bottom line is this: if you are going abroad, understand it's not going to be a bed of roses. It is going to be pretty challenging. But let me assure you, if you are a person willing to fight, your chances of success abroad is going to be more than chance of success in India. Because in India, if you are excellent in the top 10% or even 2-3%, money is not a problem in India. All right. Bottom line, sacrifices are being made. Pull up your socks, see to it that you're ready to fight. Develop all the skills for people who are going to the US. I have been strongly recommending to, for example, learn Spanish. So these things which you know will be useful once you are there needs to be invested in now. So it cannot be in series. Let me first get admission, then I'll think about visa. Once I get visa, I'll think about getting internship there. No, certain skills parallelly would have to be developed. Your bottom line, once you enter the country, you need an internship. Internship should be good enough for you to get a job. Using the job, you should be able to negotiate a better job. You should be able to take a job which is able to get you the the non-migrate, non-immigration work visa, H1B visa being one such, and then leading to the PR. And once you get PR, come back to India and make India rich again. So bottom line is that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. As I said, all of you do have my WhatsApp number. In case you have any questions, do ping me in that. I'll see to it that I'm answering it late in the night tonight. And I will see you during my next session sometime later. Thank you so much. Instagram. Remember, Instagram link is there both. I have put that in the comments. Please subscribe to that.